In the quiet German town of Mulberg near Karlsruhe, in the year 1844, a child was born who carried nothing with him into the world except the love of a mother and the weight of an uncertain future. His name was Karl Benz. There was no fortune waiting for him, no family business to inherit, no guarantee of anything beyond survival. And yet, from this fragile beginning would eventually rise one of the most powerful and recognizable brands in human history, a brand whose three-pointed star would one day represent engineering excellence across the entire globe. But long before the world knew that star, it first had to witness a story of loss, sacrifice, and quiet determination. When Karl was only 2 years old, tragedy struck his family. His father, Johann George Benz, a railway engine driver, died suddenly of pneumonia. In an era with no safety nets, no insurance, and no social support systems for widows, this loss should have ended any hope of a better life for young Karl. His mother, Josephine Valiant, was left completely alone to raise her son on whatever meager income she could scrape together. Many families in her position would have been forced to send their children to work at the earliest possible age, sacrificing education for survival. But Josephine made a different choice. She believed, with unwavering conviction, that education was the only true inheritance she could give her son, the one thing poverty could never take away once it was earned. Karl grew up watching steam trains roar past, mesmerized by pistons, gears, and the raw mechanical power that moved iron and steel. While most children of his era played simple games in the streets, Karl found himself drawn instead to clocks, tools, and anything he could dismantle and rebuild. This early fascination with machinery was not just a passing childhood interest. It would come to define the entire trajectory of his life. Thanks to his mother's relentless sacrifices, Karl was able to attend school and eventually earn a place at the Karlsruhe Polytechnic University, one of the most respected technical institutions in the German states at the time. By the age of 19, he had completed his degree in mechanical engineering, an extraordinary accomplishment for a boy who had grown up with almost nothing. But academic success did not translate immediately into professional success. The years following his graduation were marked by frustration and financial instability. Karl worked a series of jobs that failed to satisfy either his ambition or his talent. He attempted to open his own mechanical workshop, entering into business partnerships that quickly turned toxic. Disagreements over money, mismanagement by partners, and a lack of capital repeatedly threatened to destroy everything he had worked to build. More than once, Karl Benz found himself financially ruined, forced to start completely from scratch. To many observers at the time, it must have seemed as though this boy from poverty, despite his brilliant mind, simply did not have the luck or the resources required to succeed in the world of industry. Everything began to shift in 1872, when Karl married Bertha, a woman whose intelligence, courage, and belief in her husband's vision would prove just as historically significant as his own engineering genius. Bertha came from a more financially stable background than Karl, and when his business ventures repeatedly collapsed under financial pressure, it was Bertha who made the decisive choice to use her own dowry to keep her husband's dream alive. Without this financial lifeline, many historians agree that Karl Benz's experiments may never have survived long enough to produce anything of lasting significance. Bertha was not merely a supportive spouse in the traditional sense of the era. She was, in every practical way, a partner in the creation of what would eventually become an automotive empire. Working long hours in cramped and often poorly funded workshops, Karl became consumed by a singular, almost obsessive question. Could a vehicle move under its own power, without a horse pulling it and without rails guiding it, using nothing but an internal combustion engine? In the 1870s and 1880s, this idea was considered eccentric at best and delusional at worst. Horses pulled carriages. Trains ran on fixed rails. The notion of a self-propelled personal vehicle struck most people, including many educated men of science, as an impractical fantasy. But Karl Benz continued his experiments, refining his designs, failing repeatedly, and returning to his workbench again and again. In 1878, he began serious work on a reliable two-stroke gas engine, and by 1879, he had successfully patented it. This engine became a critical foundation for everything that followed. In 1883, with financial backing from new investors, Karl founded a company called Benz in Mannheim, initially focused on producing industrial engines. This venture finally provided a degree of financial stability, something that had eluded Karl for most of his adult life. With a steady income from engine sales, he was finally able to dedicate serious time and resources to his true obsession, building a complete, functioning automobile from the ground up. That obsession reached its historic culmination on January 29th, 1886, a date that remains permanently etched into the history of transportation. On that day, Karl Benz was granted a patent for what is widely recognized by historians as the world's first true automobile, the Benz Patent-Motorwagen. It was a three-wheeled vehicle, powered by a single-cylinder four-stroke engine, a machine that must have looked like something from a fantastical dream to the residents of Mannheim, who watched it rattle noisily down their cobblestone streets. Public reaction, however, was far from enthusiastic. Investors remained skeptical. Newspapers dismissed the invention as a noisy, unreliable curiosity, little more than an expensive toy for eccentric hobbyists with no real future in practical transportation. It took an act of extraordinary courage from Bertha Benz to change public perception forever. In August of 1888, without informing her husband beforehand, Bertha took their two teenage sons and set out on a journey of more than 100 kilometers, traveling from Mannheim to Pforzheim in the Patent-Motorwagen. Along the way, she encountered numerous mechanical problems and solved each one using nothing but her own resourcefulness. She cleared a block fuel line using her hairpin, insulated a wire using her garter, and had a local shoemaker repair worn brake blocks, effectively inventing the concept of brake pads in the process. She also stopped at a pharmacy in the town of Weissloch to purchase Ligroen, a cleaning solvent used as fuel, making that humble pharmacy the world's first fueling station in practical terms. This historic drive, well documented and celebrated today, proved, beyond any reasonable doubt, that Karl Benz's invention was not merely a novelty. It was the future of human transportation. While Karl Benz worked in Mannheim, another remarkable story was unfolding elsewhere in Germany. Gottlieb Daimler and his close collaborator Wilhelm Maybach were independently developing their own high-speed internal combustion engines, entirely unaware that their work would one day become permanently intertwined with that of Karl Benz. Daimler and Maybach focused heavily on lightweight, high-revving engines, and their innovations progressed along a parallel but distinct path from Benz's own designs. For years, these two engineering lineages developed independently, forming what historians often describe as a quiet, unofficial rivalry that pushed automotive innovation forward at a remarkable pace. An intriguing chapter in this story involved an Austrian businessman and diplomat named Emil Jellinek. Jellinek was an enthusiastic promoter and racer of Daimler automobiles, and he began entering these vehicles in competitive races under the name Mercedes, inspired by his own daughter, Mercedes Jellinek. The name carried an air of elegance and sophistication that resonated with wealthy European clientele, and it quickly became associated with speed, luxury, and engineering excellence. Over time, this name would become permanently linked to the legacy that eventually emerged from the union of these two great engineering traditions. Following the devastating economic aftermath of the First World War, Germany's automotive manufacturers faced severe financial pressures, including hyperinflation and a shrinking market. Facing these harsh economic realities, Daimler Motoring Gesellschaft and Benz N.C. began a formal cooperation agreement, which eventually culminated in a full merger in 1926. From a union of these two storied companies emerged a name the entire world recognizes today, Mercedes-Benz. What had begun decades earlier as the desperate dream of a fatherless boy from a small German town had transformed into one of the most respected, trusted, and prestigious automotive names on the planet. Karl Benz lived to witness his creation evolve into something far greater than a simple mechanical curiosity. He passed away in 1929, having personally seen the birth of an entire global industry that he had helped set into motion decades earlier. Today, the three-pointed star that adorns every Mercedes-Benz vehicle stands as a quiet, enduring tribute to a boy who once had nothing, a mother who sacrificed everything for his education, and a wife whose extraordinary courage carried a fragile invention safely into the pages of history. The story of Mercedes-Benz is not simply a story about automobiles or engineering achievements. It is a story about resilience in the face of crushing poverty, about a family's unshakable belief in an idea the rest of the world dismissed as impossible, and about how true innovation often begins not in comfort or privilege, but in struggle and hardship. Karl Benz did not inherit wealth, status, or connections. He inherited determination, passed down through the sacrifices of a widowed mother, and he transformed that determination into a legacy that continues to move down highways across every continent, more than a century after his death. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that greatness can emerge from the humblest and most difficult beginnings, then we would love to hear from you. Like this video if you enjoyed uncovering this remarkable piece of history. Leave a comment below and tell us which part Karl Benz and Bertha Benz's journey inspired you the most. Subscribe to Enigma Stories for more incredible true stories.